Hey, what's up guys, it's Marv and welcome back to another Asphalt Legends Unite video. Before I get into the RAESR Tartarus, just want to say a couple of things. Firstly, I want to wish everyone a happy new year. I believe this will be the first video of the new year. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to what Asphalt has in store for us in 2025. It seems like things are really picking up with Unite, especially as it comes to community feedback and also in terms of the direction the game is going. There's a lot of focus on esports recently. There's a lot of focus on adding actual content to the game, like new game modes, tracks, things like that. Now, sure, the recent additions like Chicago haven't been that great, but we did get the team game mode, which you'll be seeing on screen now, which honestly I do kind of like. Yes, it doesn't really change how you play the game, but it's kind of nice to know that if someone is in first place, you're in second place, and it's the teammate, you don't actually have to worry too much about coming in second place. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to 2025. I discussed all about the things that I hope are added to Asphalt Legends Unite this year in my previous video, which is the 2025 wish list. So keep in mind, if you want to go check out that video, you can always hit the comment section up for cool ideas and things like that. And also leave your comments in this video as well if you have anything to add. But I also want to mention that I did see a couple of comments about being in Barcelona, and I do want to confirm that I did actually manage to visit the Gameloft office. You can see a picture of me here with the sign. It was an incredible experience. I got to meet some awesome people. Honestly, it's one of those moments where it's like never meet your heroes, but in this case, it was so cool to actually meet the developers of this game. A lot of them were also in previous development teams with Asphalt 8, of course, because the same studio developed both games. So meeting people who worked on what I guess would be one of my favorite childhood games now that it's over 10 years old was really awesome and awe-inspiring as well. I did give them a lot of feedback and they took notes, which was really awesome. So being able to speak to the developers directly about feedback gave me a ton of hope for the future. That's why I'm a little optimistic about 2025. So yeah, I just want to let you guys know that it was an incredible experience. Hopefully I can visit again soon. But yeah, let's talk about the RAESR Tartarus. And this was a mixed bag because this is the recent addition to the Drive Syndicate lineup. This is the flagship vehicle, if you could call it that. So of course, if you plan on getting this car, you will have to grind through the entire Drive Syndicate. You cannot just buy this car easily. I'm sure in the future you can, but right now it's the flagship car, which means maybe if you're watching this, maybe one or two people are gonna actually unlock this car. We'll wait and see. This Drive Syndicate, I'd say, is a little bit harder than the other ones. I'll go into detail into another video once I wrap up in my free-to-play journey with the Drive Syndicate. Surprisingly, I'm still going. But let's talk about the Tartarus itself, because it does have the name of being the highest ranked car in the entire game at 5,285. I believe it does sit above the Devil 16, so it has a lot to live up to, and in my opinion, it does fall a little flat. Now, the one thing you might say is that if you take a look at the stats, you might disagree with me and say those stats don't actually make sense for what you're saying. I mean, over 330 miles per hour, check. Not as good as the Devil 16, but certainly better than like 99% of the other cars in the game. An acceleration of over 90 is literally insane, especially for that top speed. Handling with S-Class cars is always difficult to predict, but the Nitro at 30 shouldn't be that bad considering it has the acceleration to back it up, right? Well, that's where it all goes wrong. That low Nitro stat is, in my opinion, what kills this car's performance. Yes, you can get up to speed at 330 miles per hour, especially in those long stretches of road like on Cairo and the Himalayas. However, if you run into literally anything else but smooth, flat surfaces, the car will bounce around, and the way that the physics works in this game is that you just won't ever be able to reach your top speed in this car. You just won't. I can't exactly describe what's going on, but it seems like it's a combination of the car being a little bit bouncy, but also combined with the physics of the terrain system in this game, along with the physics of acceleration itself. It means that using the Nitro, even during Shockwave, you can sometimes reach the 260 to 270 mile per hour mark no problem, but it really struggles to get higher than that. So yes, there is a problem with the nitro efficiency. Well, depending on what you mean by problem, it could be a good thing if you don't unlock this car and don't want everyone destroying you with it if they have it and you don't, but it could be a problem if you grind a whole lot expecting a really good car at the end of the Drive Syndicate. However, the nitro efficiency isn't only what leads this car to a little bit of a disappointing performance. The problem also lies in the handling. Now, unlike a lot of the other very high-end S-Class cars, this car doesn't have that insane sharpness of something like the Jesko or the Venom F5. I'd say it's a little more akin to the Tuatara, where it does require a little more delicacy to drive, and it does stay a little flatter in the corners compared to some of the other cars. Now, what this means is that even if you do get up to your top speed of 334 plus miles per hour, if you take any slight corners, your top speed drops dramatically. It doesn't just drop 10 or 20 miles per hour, but again, even while reaching that top speed, it struggles to maintain over 300 miles per hour in a lot of different scenarios. So again, in most of the Himalayas tracks, the Thousand Minarets-esque Cairo tracks, you're gonna be fine, and actually it's quite a good car for those tracks considering the combination of acceleration and top speed. But once you get into the more balanced tracks, even tracks like San Francisco or Rome, it really does struggle because there's a lot more corners than this car can handle. Now, I don't claim to be like the absolute top pro in this game. I would consider myself to have some decent driving skills, but you will see that I do struggle a lot with this car, especially just trying to spam that nitro button over and over again, and there's nothing left in the tank. So not only is it a little disappointing in terms of the performance, but it's also a little bit disappointing in terms of the driving experience. And in my opinion, that's what you should go off of to decide whether or not you want a car, because this car is just not very satisfying to drive. Because you're spamming that empty nitro tank, you're going around corners slower than you might otherwise expect to. So it's that combination of disappointing performance combined with that unsatisfying driving experience, which leads me to not really recommend going for this car in the Drive Syndicate. Now, if you have the means to go all the way to the CC850 in the Drive Syndicate, you're probably going all the way to the Tartarus, so I don't really know if you need my advice per se, but if you're deciding whether or not to push harder and go past the CC850 all the way to the Tartarus, if you need to spend more money or if you need to buy the relays or something like that, I would recommend saving your money or tokens and maybe just picking up the CC850 and calling it a day. Again, if it's not that much to go for the Tartarus, you might as well do it. But if you're trying to decide whether or not to spend a lot more money to get the Tartarus, because frankly, I haven't gotten that far in a Drive Syndicate since the second one, so I don't really know what it's like to go from that second S-Class car to the Premier S-Class car. If it's a huge difference, I wouldn't recommend it. If it's only a little bit, then why not? And actually, talking about the CC850 does remind me, and as I spoke about earlier, it is the second to last car in the Drive Syndicate. So honestly, you could go all the way to the CC850 and just call it a day. It is a really good car. I didn't get that much experience with it this time around. I wanted to focus on the Tartarus, but as you can see from some of the races where there are CC850s leading me, it doesn't seem like there's too much of a difference. That car is around 30 miles per hour slower, but it feels like you can get up to your top speed a little better in that car considering the combination of slightly higher nitro efficiency. So where does that leave us? Well, in my opinion, it shifts more to a discussion about future additions to Drive Syndicate cars rather than a recommendation, because I feel like if you're going for this car, you already have the means to do so, and it's not like my advice, again, as someone who's not going to get this car anyway, is going to shift your opinion. You're going to get this car, and you've probably already decided whether you will or won't, and it's probably more of whether you can or cannot, let's be honest here. But I do want to shift the conversation to future cars because there has been a push recently for extreme high top speed cars that have low nitro efficiency. And personally, I would like to see more cars shift in the other direction where they're maybe topping out at 280 or 290 miles per hour or even just below that 300 mark, but they have good nitro efficiency so the gameplay experience isn't as frustrating. You're not constantly tapping that empty nitro tank or drifting around a corner just feeling like you could go faster, but the car just won't let you. And yes, I know that seems a little oxymoronic considering I don't like cars such as the Huracan and the Vanda, but you have to admit that those cars are built for the more recent tracks, whereas cars like the Tartarus just explode in Chicago. They are not built for it. And yes, that does tie into my hatred of the new Chicago map design, because you have a top speed car with not that great handling and nitro efficiency combined with a track that is all about corners. So philosophically, it just doesn't work with each other. Alrighty, so I think that's a good place to end the discussion about the Tartarus. I am really curious to hear your thoughts, because we haven't really seen a car like this before in Asphalt Legends Unite. The Devil 16 is probably the closest competitor, or maybe even this could be considered like a super boosted Trion Nemesis, but I feel like even the Trion Nemesis has slightly better handling physics compared to this car. I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you all in the next one.